Welcome to My Favorite CX, a podcast that celebrates exceptional customer experiences. To listen to today's, please choose from one of the following options.
Welcome to My Favorite Customer Experience. Chris Holt here from Holt CX Consultancy in the UK. I'm joined today by Faris Aranki from Shiageto Consulting. Faris, welcome.
Thanks very much, Chris. It's a real pleasure to be with you, the listeners, the viewers, and just anyone.
And Faris and I, this has been a bit of a quest to chat to each other due to constant schedule changes, normally on my part, and a very quick, I'm so sorry kind of excuse. But Faris and I got to know each other on LinkedIn a while back with one of your interesting quests that we'll get to in a moment. But Faris founded Shiageto Consulting 6 years ago. Offering strategic advice and actual insights around emotional intelligence from the view of three different quotients, those being intelligence, emotional, and focus. On top of this, he's a regular public speaker and throws himself into a range of activities, including last week 2 run clubs in one day, which is impressive, responding to 1,000 LinkedIn events within, I think it was 24 or 48 hours?
48 hours, yeah.
And even engaging with spam callers every so often as well, just to make their day. Faris, why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself and what it is you do, and also what drove you to 1,000 LinkedIn events? That's where we first came across each other, and all the other things you throw yourself into.
All the other things. But anyone listening to that is like, who is this guy? What the hell does he do for a living? Trust me, it all makes sense, people. And I'll try and bring some organization to that chaos. So, I run a business that I set up 6 years ago called Shiageto Consulting. Shiageto is the Japanese word for a sharpening stone, because effectively we go in and make people sharper in companies. We all go a bit blunt sometimes. Particularly, we work predominantly with teams. So as you rightly pointed out, we help them get better thinking as a team, working better together as a team, and being more focused as a team. And a lot of that came about from my previous career, where I was a strategy consultant. I was a partner in a strategy consulting firm where basically I was only paid for one pillar, the IQ, the thinking. But I realized that if you hand over excellent thinking or any thinking to a team that is a bit blunt, they're not going to do anything with it. And I was very good at fixing all the issues why teams didn't do stuff with strategies. So that's what I set up a business about. And it really is about getting the best out of a group of individuals. So all this wacky stuff that I do is both to test human behavior, but also sharpen my own skill set. Right. So why do I speak to spam callers? Because that's a chance for me to practice my listening skills and my empathy skills, because I've done that tough job. Right. And you might learn something. Why did I do 1,000 comments? It was 1,000 comments in 48 hours on LinkedIn, 1,000 different people's posts. That was to test human behavior and see if I could genuinely build relationships just by commenting on LinkedIn, because you read all these gurus who say, yeah, you need to be commenting. So it was it was also a physical exercise, a challenge for me, because I only slept less than 6 hours that weekend. I was literally on my phone, typing, researching, doing all these things, reading terrible blogs and shitty posts that people put on LinkedIn. Sorry if that applies to you. So that's why I do what I do. I love challenging myself, getting out of my comfort zone, and just generally being sharper.
And yeah, it was during those crazy 48 hours for you that I think you commented on, either I saw you commenting on something, or you commented on one of my, we'll say shitty video posts, probably. That's not normally
one of the shitty one.
But I mean, if I think I don't put down LinkedIn enough, then 42 out of 48 hours is pretty intense. You must have got quite fed up of seeing LinkedIn by the end of that.
Yeah, it was a real emotional journey. Yeah, I went through that, the curve of excitement, disappointment, anger, because I also met some weirdos along the way, but I got some lovely feedback. But yeah, and it was a physical thing, no showering, very little sleeping, hunched over a phone. I was grateful. I did not go back to LinkedIn for about 4 days after that experiment.
But as you say, it was a bit of an experiment all around behaviors, and behaviors are a key thing in my world of customer experience nowadays. And I guess when you're speaking to teams and trying to impress on them the why, What are the biggest things you're seeing that maybe we can tie back to the world of customer experience?
Oh, I think there's a beautiful overlap, right? Where I see teams go wrong is they don't take the time to listen, understand. And I often say it's not due to malice, right? So nobody walks in going, I'm going to screw up work for everyone else around me today. They just, because of either they're unaware or they're too busy, this friction just begins to create. And I think it's the same in the world of customer experience. Nobody goes out to create terrible CX. Or if they do, well done to them. But actually, I know a few examples where they do that, that we can talk about that aside. So we are there to just shine a light, fix it. And often there are many ways to fix something. It could be coach a person, go, hey, do you realize you're doing this? Wouldn't it be great if you stopped? And that is fantastic, but that takes a long time. The other way is to change the process around them so they cannot exhibit that behavior. So that's a lot of what we do in teams to improve listening, to cut out the biases that just surround us every day. Things like groupthink, favoritism bias, boredom bias, right? We try and change the dynamics of teams so that we minimize those as much as possible without relying on willpower or coaching to get the person there.
And I guess when I look from a technology perspective, we're all about empathy scores and all of that kind of good stuff. But actually, that's one level of detail. I've never thought about going into a contact center and looking for the boredom biases. In fact, that's a term I've never even thought about. Of like, actually, next time I'm on the floor in a contact center, like, who's providing poor customer experience just because they're not being challenged enough?
Yeah. Well, I mean, any human being exhibits, a current count is over 180 biases that scientists have named and quantified. So no wonder we go off on loose cannons and don't do stuff that, a lot of it is not, our free will, so to speak, or, we're not intentionally. Boredom is a massive one. I've been in boardrooms and watched people about to make a decision purely through boredom bias, right? And this often happens when, not necessarily in the bad times. Classic example is companies that are doing really well, right? And the best strategy you could do is just do more of the same. But to the 8 people sat around that room, that sounds boring, right? We've already conquered this Everest. Let's lob in something. But from a strategic point of view, you'd say, no, just do more of this. In fact, up it, do it 10 times. But someone will go, hey, why don't we suddenly conquer America? Or why don't we do? And that's really a classic case of boredom bias. There's no actual fact or logic behind it. It's a classic boredom bias play. So you often have to reel them back in.
I'd have loved to have been in the room when someone suggested New Coke in the 1980s. And, did that genuinely stem from boredom bias now? Who knows? Who knows?
If only, I think there's a great series and fly back and unpick how decisions were made on several big clangers, so to speak. And you'll probably be able to pick out the three main biases that were in that room without the people being aware of it.
So with the work that you're doing now, and with the, I love the idea of sharpening skills and constantly trying to get people to constantly evolve. Is I guess what I look at. Where do you think the biggest opportunities are now to create those exceptional experiences and help teams to elevate their companies?
So I think in each of the buckets, it's and we think about it. The way we approach it is IQ, EQ, FQ. In the IQ bucket is generate more ideas. Right? Even if you've got a great system, there's so many great ways to challenge your own thinking. Right? What are 10 ways we could really screw this up? Think the opposite of what you're doing at the moment, and it will flush out. By far and away, teams do not generate enough ideas whenever they come to a new problem they have to solve or a new, to improve. In the EQ bucket, they don't listen enough. They don't flex and think about it from somebody else's point of view. Right? Too much of the world we spend to our own eyes, which is great, but if you really want to make an impact on another human being, is put yourself in their shoes. And the only way you can do that is by listening. It sounds so simple, but so many teams, even very successful people, get stuck in their ways, their communication style, their level of inclusiveness. And then on the focus FQ side, we're all doing too many things. Prioritize and rationalize. All right. If you want to be great at something, the best, the most successful people I've met in my life are mono-focused. Literally, they strip away everything else. So if you want to be excellent at CX, strip away everything else. Don't expect that same agent to have to do X other things. Don't expect them to have to remember 100-point checklist. Right? Strip away, make it really simple so that it just becomes ingrained. And that's the same thing we do in teams and companies. It's amazing how many projects a company will do simultaneously and then wonder why so many of them are failing.
Yeah, I think as I embark on running a company and a consultancy, it's very easy to have way too many plates spinning and loads. It's your point, almost having too many ideas at that point, in that it then impacts your focus. So it is, I guess, playing off those various different aspects and going, well, you need the ideas, but you also then need to work out what to focus on at the same time.
Yeah. You go broad and then bring it back in effectively. Yeah.
Love it.
But it's fascinating.
I think what's interesting now as well is there's more and more analysis being put into the behavioral side of customer experience and employee experience as well. To your point of allowing that agent to focus as much as they can on what they're doing. We haven't said AI yet, and it's been nearly 10 minutes into a podcast, so I now feel compelled I should have said it.
What's going on?
Actually, for me, what interests me in the world of CX is not putting AI necessarily into the customer experience, but helping that agent, because the more you can help that agent, one, it empowers them to allow them to do the best of their job, which is going to reduce that boredom down and increase their pride in what they're doing. But also you're allowing them to have that focus. If they're having to go across 10 different systems to find an answer, they are going to quickly lose the will to do that and find the convenient answer potentially.
Yeah. I mean, if I look at the 3 pillars I've talked about, I would wholly support put AI into your IQ bucket. Help you are no longer ever alone when generating ideas. Suddenly you've got this super smart person who'll help you generate 100 ideas. Brilliant, right? Use it to bounce off spar with. Use it in the FQ bucket to help you be focused and remove distractions. But in that EQ bucket, we've got to rely on humans, right? You might get some coaching from the AI, but that's at most. Don't let the AI do your interactions. You're missing a trick. Even if it can do it just as well as you, you're missing a trick both for you and your customer, is my belief. And don't get me wrong, there are many people who like to avoid humans. All right. So their perfect EQ bucket is get an AI to talk to me. Take out the human. It's really funny. I remember talking once, and I can't remember where it was. It was said, you've got certain situations in life where the same objective, different people have completely different sets of expectations, and the hotel check-in is one of them. For a whole group of people, they want a very personalized check-in. They want someone behind the desk who greets them by name, takes time, asks them about their day. For a completely different set of people, they don't want to talk to anyone when they check in, right? They're probably high frequency travelers, very technology enabled. And the worst thing in the world would be interrupted by John on the front desk, right? And isn't that bonkers, right? Because how do you teach one individual the perfect customer experience? So that's why you need a human in the loop, or you need someone to really be able to quickly assess and go, that person I'm not talking to at all, and they will love that. But that person I'm going to give half an hour to.
And I think having that autonomy, both as a customer and as an agent, to be able to provide that level of service. There are certainly plenty of customer experiences I have where I don't need a human involved as long as what I can do is transactable and easy. And actually, there are times where I've called up or had to chat to someone. I'm like, I know this is a waste of time, or I know this is, there were probably easier ways to do this, but I couldn't get it done. And I know this is frustrating for both of us. But yeah, absolutely. Having that option to transact. And I think we're getting there now. One of the big advances with AI is we can handle data at a greater depth now and a greater breadth, which means we can say, well, Mr. Holt, when he comes to this hotel, he doesn't care. He's been here. This is the Holiday Inn in Northampton. I've been here quite a lot of times in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Probably just need, here's your key card, off you go. I know where everything is. I know when breakfast is, all that kind of stuff. But if I'm going somewhere nice, then you want to be treated like it's, actually, let's take that back. This is a perfectly nice hotel. It's just I'm very, very familiar with it. If I'm, say, going for a higher end experience, then yeah, you want a slightly
Yes.
different touch.
Well, yes, and hang on, what you've just explained to me still feels like a silver level to me, right? And this is where the real nuance. This is where this really overlaps with my world. Is people want rules and systems and follow a process. Like, okay, Mr. Holt doesn't like in the Holiday Inn in Northampton doesn't like to be interrupted. But you know what would be a gold level of service? Mr. Holt walks in one day having just received a terrible phone call about something. You spot that and you override the process because you go, for this one time, Mr. Holt would love a human being to just chat to him. All right. And that is something that we're a long way from AI overspotting. And that's what we try to encourage when I work with teams. Because often I'm teaching about communication style. I said, don't box someone in and say, this person only ever likes to be communicated with logic, or this person only likes to be communicated with stories. Because there'll be a different context where they don't like their usual. And it's for you to read that situation and have in your back pocket the ability to flex to what they do need at that moment. Now, that would be gold level service CX to me.
And it's operating in those grey areas and
Yeah.
having the nuance and the empowerment to be able to do so.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Well, we've talked a lot around the world of CX and the world of emotional intelligence. So what we'll do is we'll place our listeners and viewers on hold for a moment where they get to speak or they get spoken to by a bot. And afterwards, we'll chat about one of your favorite customer experiences.
Your call is important to us. Please hold and you'll be connected to your next favorite customer experience shortly.
Welcome back to my favorite customer experience. I'm here this week with Faris Aranki from Shiageto Consulting. And what we do in the second half of our podcast is, Faris, I'm going to ask you about a favorite customer experience. Why don't you tell us something?
I've got loads. I'm of the old school ilk. We were talking before the break about do you want the personalized touch or do you want the no interaction touch? I'm more the personalized touch. I take after my parents, whose perfect kind of restaurant is the kind where the owner comes and sits with you for 5 minutes. So unfortunately, they don't rate the quality of the food as high. They like that sort of, but I've noticed that's what I like as well. Linking it to the fact you're in a hotel very much. I remember once spending 2 years of my life in the same hotel. I'd fly in on a Monday morning, I'd be gone on a Friday. It was a project I was doing when I was a consultant, and I think I was about. As the staff began to realize I was staying there, slowly over time, the level of CX began to increase. It was from, we know what soaps you like in your room to, would you like to leave your clothes? We'll dry clean them and we'll have them hanging back in your favorite room. And then about 6 months in, this most amazing thing happened. It was a Monday night. I'd come back from the gym. I rang for room service and the lady who knew me, and she said, "Hey, good evening, Mr. Aranki. Do you want your usual?" And I stopped and I said, "My usual? What are you talking about?" She said, "Your Monday night usual." I said, "I didn't realize I had a usual." And she said, "Yes." And this was kind of like watching AI in progress, but human AI. She said, "We've noticed a pattern. You always start Monday with a healthy meal. All right? You always start with a salad. By the time you get to Thursday, you're on a burger. If it's a really bad week, you're sometimes ordering 2 burgers. So we can tell your mood throughout the week, and we kind of know. And it sounds like you're in a cheery mood, so I thought you might want your usual salad on a Monday morning." And that's just when I was like, wow, this is amazing that, the team, not just one individual, had noticed patterns about me and had filtered that information all together.
That is... I'm not at that level of staying at this hotel just yet. But yeah, having that ability and also, I guess, if we talk about staff empowerment like we were earlier on, that hotel gave their staff enough breathing space to be able to focus on, this customer, they're here 4 nights a week for, at that point, 6 months out of 2 years.
Yeah.
We know what the habits are. We know what you're looking for. So let's make it easy. So actually what they're trying to do is make your life easier as well and make it exceptional at the same time. Yeah. I was going to say what made it exceptional, but I think the fact that I guess from that point onwards, you could just call up and say, yeah, it's for Monday, please.
It's Monday and I'm in a bad mood, or it's but it was that level of joining the dots because they'd seen me go to the gym, they'd filtered it back and that sort of thing. And yeah, it really was telling. And I'm conscious many people will hear that story and go, "That's the worst thing ever. I don't want someone knowing that level of detail." Well, hate to break it to you, that's what all sort of AI is based on. But anyway, we'll blast public. But for me, perfect. And when it reached that final week of me being there, right, you can imagine the emotion. There was hugs with everyone. They put on a little party, and I was so deeply touched, that effectively you were leaving a group of friends or people, or teammates, effectively. And that's really what great customer experience is, that you lose the boundaries in some respect.
I think if I look back at my lifetime of have I ever had anywhere where do you want the usual?
Yeah,
I've never been. I've got a favourite beer shop at home, but never really used to go to the pub regularly or anything like that. The one place where I had a regular, do you want the usual, was an ice cream van.
Okay.
So 20 years ago, the ice cream van had come round, and within a couple of weeks, he realised I was ordering two things. It was a 99 for myself, and then it was a certain ice cream for my former wife. And it's like, so then it was like, do you want the usual? And I'm like, and that gave me so much joy. Also a level of shame of should I be exploring other ice creams or am I eating too much ice cream? But then I realized that's never a problem, really. But just having that level of acknowledgement, because I mean, that's someone that's probably seeing hundreds of people every evening.
Yeah.
To be able to say, do you want this? Can I make your life easier? Can I take that choice away from you?
Yeah.
So you said it got emotional. How did it make you feel at the time and then long term over that next 18 months afterwards?
It made me feel warm and fuzzy. I must admit, it got me like shocked initially. Like I was like, "Oh, hang on a minute, they're spotting stuff about me that I haven't sat and spot." And then it was am I happy with that or not? And so there was that element of shock, but then it was very nice, and it certainly made me feel warmer to the establishment, to those individuals. So never at one point did I think about changing my book, because there were loads of hotels in that surrounding area, and I had free choice to pick which hotel. So it really consolidated that. This was a very easy buying decision for me. I felt warm, and nobody wants to be away from home 4 nights a week, but this is the best. If I had to, this is the place I want to spend those 4 nights a week.
And I guess that leads in. I normally ask people if it influenced their behaviours. You carried on spending there. As you say, you had lots of choice, there were lots of options, but that continued experience meant that you continued to be a customer. And then was it a brand of hotel? Did you then carry on using
it? Was a brand of hotel. I continued, because you can imagine 2 years of 4 nights a week, I had lots of points. So I became brand loyal, but also I was fairly senior. So I could influence the decisions of my team. I'd be like, I'm staying in this hotel. I highly recommend you all stay in this hotel so I can have meetings with you at night and that sort of thing. So it was very beneficial for them, and I was happy to make those decisions flow that way.
And I think that kind of typifies why an exceptional customer experience is always worthwhile if you can deliver it, because the knock-on effect there, I mean, even if you were junior, you would still be raving about that to your colleagues and going, oh, next time we're in this town, we need to stay here because they looked after me this way. The fact that you were senior meant you could then influence in a much greater sphere and then continue that on after this project as well.
Yeah. And I think, I don't think they, maybe they did, I didn't know behind the scenes they were sort of, profiling me and identified me. I think they just did that for, general people. But, that's a key part of it. That's in the IQ pillar for me. Make a decision. Are these people worth it? I can imagine if you're in a high tourist hotspot, the people are never going to return. It's easier to change the point of inflection of your customer experience. But, if you're in a small town that, with the customers returning frequently, then go above and beyond.
And what's interesting for me as we do more and more of these episodes is so many of them center around hospitality.
Okay.
People rarely go, oh, I had this. It's generally, rarely technology based now. People are talking about the human experiences. Do you know what you started with talking about your parents and restaurants? And there have been a lot of restaurant answers so far in this podcast.
Okay,
the hospitality industry seems to be one where people, maybe want to experience something at a higher level as well.
I mean, yeah, hospitality services, I sat back when I started my firm, and this is advice I give everyone who's starting out, either a small business or as a solopreneur, is, hate to break it to you, but nobody is Googling you. And nobody gives a damn that you started a business. And maybe some of this resonates with you. And I said, if you break it down, when you meet someone new and you look at what's called the trust equation, how two human beings form trust in each other, and it's based around, do I like that person? Do I think they're credible? Do I think they're reliable? The first time you meet someone, they have no idea on your reliability, because you've never seen, they've never seen you in action, your credibility, before you speak. The only thing you can influence is your likability, your authenticity. So no wonder, and as soon as I clocked that, I was like, so that's how I'm going to be. That's how my business is going to be. It's going to be super friendly, super warm, because that's the only differentiator I can possibly make an impact. And so it doesn't surprise me that hospitality, because you've got lots of choices in hospitality, and really the only thing, yes, you can read TripAdvisor reviews and blah, blah, but the only thing that will really make a difference on your initially is that, do I like these people?
Absolutely. And speaking of liking people, if people liked what they heard from you today, Faris,
beautiful segue.
I'm getting better at these. Where can they find you?
They can send me self-addressed checks to they can contact me. They can either come and visit the company website, shiageto.com, and there's some tips and lots of stuff around IQ, EQ, FQ on there. Or more personally, they can come and look me up on LinkedIn. There's only one Faris Aranki. I post every day. I share little, as you yourself, I share stories, adventures, the stupid experiments I'm currently doing, also little tips. So come and find me, and I reply to absolutely every message I get.
Wonderful. Well, Faris, thank you very much for joining us on My Favorite Customer Experience.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to My Favorite CX. Your listenership is important to us. On your keypad, please press a number between 1 and 5 to rank how much you've enjoyed your experience.